Picture a typical morning outside an Indian courthouse. Nothing dramatic, no screaming, just two people waiting for their names to be called. One of them arrived in the car, an attorney trailing right behind him. For this person, when the clerk announces that the hearing is postponed, it's a minor annoyance. At worst, it's an extra day of legal fees. In some cases, it's exactly what their lawyer planned. The other person arrived by bus. They're holding a file that's grown thick with endless rescheduling notices. For them, a delayed hearing means a day of lost wages. It means explaining an absence to an angry boss, missing rent, or pulling kids out of school. On paper, the law treats both citizens equally. In reality, the legal process itself becomes an undeclared punishment. Simply being trapped in the system imposes a devastating financial toll on the poor. Look at the backlog. Over 50 million cases are pending across India's judicial system. With two parties each, 100 million people are waiting. The bottleneck? The Supreme Court has 90,000 pending matters, High Court's 6 million, but 46 million cases are trapped in district courts. Because 90% of the backlog lives in these local courts, the crisis directly hits the average citizen. This is where people fight for child support, property rights, and basic civil liberties. When the dockets are this overloaded, time becomes a weapon. Those with ample resources can comfortably outlast those who live paycheck to paycheck, effectively buying a favorable outcome through attrition. We can trace this gridlock down to a simple math problem. This chart compares the judge-to-citizen ratio. In the US, there are 150 judges for every 1 million people. In India, that drops to 15. The 1987 recommended baseline was 50 judges to keep the system functional, a target the country consistently fails to meet. This severe deficit means a single active judge is routinely forced to juggle 80 to 100 cases every single day. Taking a sick day guarantees the next docket will be physically impossible to clear. There is no time for deep legal reasoning when you operate on an assembly line. The mathematical reality is bleak. If you froze the courts today and stopped accepting new lawsuits, clearing the existing queue in several districts would take longer than the average human lifespan. The passage of time degrades the value of a ruling. If a mother requires child support to pay for her child's primary education, receiving a favorable verdict 10 years later is useless. The constant delay strips the law of its utility. This visualization shows the national financial priorities. The entire Ministry of Law and Justice receives roughly 0.01% of the country's GDP. The system is actively starved of capital. Without independent financial resources, judicial officers are treated like regular administrative employees. When judges have to constantly petition the government for basic maintenance, stenographers, and even their own salaries, their independence is severely compromised. And here is the harshest irony. The entity maintaining financial control over the courts is also the single largest litigant. Government departments actively clog the docket with internal disputes, endless appeals, and deliberate delay tactics. Around this gridlock, a highly lucrative ecosystem has evolved. A system built on date after date ensures a continuous stream of billing. For the industries connected to litigation, clearing the backlog would mean a massive loss in revenue. A 50 million case backlog does not happen by accident. It is actively sustained by a perverse economy where the state maintains tight financial leverage and the legal industry extracts steady profit from endless waiting. The darkest consequence of this administrative failure is found inside the prisons. Thousands of innocent under-trials are locked in jail, stripped of their freedom, simply waiting for a court date that never seems to arrive. A clear pattern emerges when you look at who is waiting. Marginalized communities, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and minority groups are vastly underrepresented in corporate leadership and higher education, yet they are heavily overrepresented in judicial custody. Eventually, these populations reach a breaking point. They realize the mechanism designed to protect their rights is actively draining their resources and their youth. When constitutional legal remedies become completely ineffective, people do not simply stop having disputes. They bypass the law entirely. They seek out illegal or extrajudicial methods to survive, collect debts, and settle scores. The silent collapse of these courts is the erosion of the social contract. If citizens lose faith in the law, the world's largest democracy cannot function. So how do we dismantle a system where the punishment is the process itself?